They say you always remember your first, and this is our first interview. We're back at the house of Perdomo. It's Nick Perdomo. How are you, my friend?
How you doing, Jim?
Thanks for welcoming us back in again.
My pleasure.
I mean, you are clearly our lucky charm. You know, we've been fortunate enough to been doing this for a while, and again, you were the first and the highest viewed, of course. So what's been going on? How are we, 12, 13 months later?
We're great. We keep growing outside of business. I'm a new grandfather, so Jenny and I are happy about that. And business has just been phenomenal, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How is Grandpa Perdomo? Are you now? Do your kids say, "Hey, you weren't that nice with us"? All of a sudden, you're winding them up, and now you're sending them back to us.
Exactly how I do. My dad always said if he knew how much fun grandchildren were, he would have skipped us, and I figured that out now. So I'm enjoying it. It's great.
That's amazing. All right, so let's talk some sticks here. Obviously, thankfully, we're on the other side of this whole pandemic thing now, and I guess, you hate to be happy when things were going bad, but cigars did really well. The business boomed. So as a businessman, how do you keep that energy up? What did you do different? What are you doing now?
I think what we did very differently during COVID is I knew that this virus, as it was going on and people were staying home, I thought people would smoke more, to be honest with you, Jim. So what a lot of my competitors did is they took time off. They closed their facilities. I don't know if you've ever been to our facilities, but they're antiseptic way before COVID was. Mm-hmm. And luckily, we had really nobody get COVID in our facilities. We never closed. Our workers were very happy because they were getting paid. And also, we brought in a lot of extra workforce, and we produced a lot of jobs during COVID in Nicaragua. And everybody was super happy. And at the same time, we got to increase our production, build our stocks. And the company during the 3 years, really COVID, when you break it down, it's been about 3 years.
Right.
We've grown the business over 102%. So I've been super happy with that. I've also been able to continue not only working 6-day work weeks, but we actually opened up 2 new factories. We opened up a factory in the center of Esteli, and we opened up a large training facility just to the south of the city. And we're producing small amounts of production in between both, about 10,000 in one facility and about 7,500 in another facility. But we've been doing that for about 13 months. It's probably just prior to our last interview that we had talked. And we've been able to build stock. So you say to yourself, well, 10,000, 70, and 7,500. You're talking 17,500 cigars, a day. It for the size company we have, it might not be that much, but you're talking close to 100,000 cigars a week. Probably about 3.5 million cigars a year that we've been able to do, and we've been able to stock, which is what we had to do during COVID, because sales being so brisk, our inventories really dropped.
Right.
So we always keep, believe it or not, about 9.5 to 10 million cigars in aging at all times in our facility in Nicaragua. But we went dangerously low. We got down to about 3.2 million. And our accounting firm, said, hey, listen.
Now,
Nick,
that sounds like a lot, but it's not really a lot.
No, it's really not. No, it's really not. When you had 3 times as much with the amount of sales that we're blessed to be able to sell. And now you got, the world ordering more cigars. Germany increasing their demand by almost threefold. Austria, Switzerland, the Czech Republic, Russia, I could go on and on. That really have asked for more and more cigars. And it's been nuts. It's been a blessing, but we've really had to work really hard. And, you can't push these things out. It's all about quality. I mean, quality, my dad always said, brings quantity. So we continue doing that, Jim.
So it's got to be, as a mega employer, both here and in Nicaragua, I would imagine there had to be some sleepless nights, not only for your home, but for the homes that you've created for all the people that work for you.
Yeah, it was sleepless because you really didn't know what was going on. And, you're under the mercy of the federal government. They can't run a golf tournament. So, I mean, it's really scary, especially, the last 15 months have been scary with, mega inflation, gas prices going through the roof. I just drove in today, and 16 months ago, I was paying $2.19 for diesel.
Right.
I just saw it right now. It's $5.79 for diesel. I feel sorry for my friends in the trucking industry or truck drivers. I feel sorry for the people that are really struggling right now with hyperinflation, interest rates going up. It's back to the Jimmy Carter years, and I'm
Right.
hoping that stops really quick. I'm not very political, but I know people are hurting, and I eventually think that this might put a downswing on cigar smoking. I hope not, but you
Well,
never know. People are struggling right now.
eating is not political.
Absolutely,
That's the way I've looked
absolutely.
at
That's
it.
the way I look at it
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to so what's next? Okay, we've gotten through this. We've got a great smoke right here. Tell us about this bad boy.
Yeah, this is the new Perdomo. This is a new series of the 12-year double-aged vintage. Very, very restricted product. Only 102 cigar stores in America have it. And if you consider we have thousands of cigar stores that carry our brand, so it's a very limited production. I'm a big single malt Scotch and bourbon guy. I wanted to come out with tobaccos that were at least 12 years old. So if you look at the band, it'll tell you it's 12 years. That's certified by our family. So basically, these tobaccos were 120 months old, 10 years, and we've actually aged them in bourbon barrels for 2 years. Fillers, binders, and wrappers, all three. Not that they needed that much time, but I wanted to certify the tobacco was 12 years old. This is the third run. We'll have one more run after this in 2023, and then we'll be finished with that particular tobacco. So we really restricted it. It's really 100 of the retailers who know how to sell, push, and hand sell a product, because you got to remember it's very unique. Not many people know it. I mean, they'll see our logo and know the brand, but it's a very limited production.
And it's the nuance of it, of how to get somebody and explain what this really is.
Yeah, and it's not the stores necessarily that move the most volumes. It's the stores that don't say, "Hey, we need something, get back to me." It's guys that walk in the humidor and sell cigars like we used to do in the mid '90s. Where people really went out of their way, and so I'm really proud of it. And it's exceeded our expectations. Really, we've had the brand out almost for 5 years, and we spit it out little by little by little, and it's been very successful.
Now, Perdomo, at the end of the day, it's family business. Okay, it's family business, and your family heavily involved in this. So what's next? What's next? What is the plan? Because I've always said, and I say this ad nauseum on the show, but I believe it. If you want to be successful, you talk to successful people, and that's why we're here. So here we are. I'm Jim, cigar guy, or I'm Jim, business guy. What is like a Perdomo 101 business model for you, or business advice for you from you?
Would I advise somebody in business today? Well, I always believe you got to follow your passion. You got to be willing to take the risk. You have to be strong. Weak people don't survive in business. And my big thing is my faith in God. It's been very, very important for our family. But you got to believe in what you do. You got to envision. I started out of a garage, right? And I never, for a million years, thought I'd be able to do what we've done. Someone just asked me recently, and it was Cigar Journal, when did you think you made it? And I said, about a year ago.
Really?
Yeah, and I've been in business for 30 years.
I mean, it's one thing to be humble, but that's amazing that you would say that.
Yeah, but it's really the truth. And I remember taking my vice president, Arthur Kemper, and it was a Saturday, and I said, let's walk around. And you can envision our facilities in Nicaragua, 1.7 million square feet. We have over 5,000 employees. It's like a world down there. But to me, it's like compartments. I go to the rolling room. I go to the box fact. We're vertically integrated, so we do everything. We even have our own genetics department. But to me, they're all almost cubicles. When I went that Saturday, I went to the rolling room and I went, Arthur, shit, this is big, man. You know what I mean? You never really see it because, you got to envision, I'm always looking at the good, bad, and the ugly and trying to fix what's bad and ugly. So it's perpetual. You're consistently doing this type of work. But, it was great because it was rewarding. I was proud. I've always been proud of our people. I've always said the greatest asset of Perdomo Cigars is certainly not Nick Perdomo. It's our employees. And I'm proud to say that our average employee's been with the company today for 20 years and 4.5 months on average. And that's pretty darn good. So I'm proud of that. But, follow your passion, take the risk, Ask a lot of questions from business people. Most of them will be glad to help you, especially young entrepreneurs, and really believe in what you're doing. And look, there's going to be a lot of sleepless nights for anybody, Jim,
Sure.
that gets into business. There's a lot of risk. Contrary to what the federal government says today, we're not all greedy people. We've had to work really hard for what we've done. How about this? For 17 years, when I started my business, I worked 7 days a week, including Christmas. And that's no big deal because a lot of guys out there have done that.
Right.
But look, I don't really, sometimes I'll look and I'll go, it's not bad having somebody else's name on your paycheck either. A lot of sleepless nights. I've been blessed. My wife was excellent on staying on top of it and making sure that, she was taking care of our children. And you're as good as you are, and your wife has got to be
Right.
very, very,
yeah.
very essential, to do that. You know what I mean?
I've always asked this of athletes, and I think it again, and I think it applies here. And as the summers kind of, we only have so many summers, right? What does legacy mean to you?
Legacy means a lot to me because it's my last name on the bands of these cigars, right? So what do I look? I look at people like my father,
right?
Who cared so much, not only about his family, but even in this industry, he'd always say quality equals quantity. Mm-hmm. Make sure that your customers are happy. Do things the right way or don't do them at all. I think of people like my grandfather and how proud he was when we had our little facility on Flagler when we were making 400,000 cigars a year back in those days in the early 90s, and what he would see today. And, I look back and unfortunately both of them have passed on, but, what would my dad do? You know what I mean? So legacy is important. I think my son sees the same thing because my children are very noble because they saw the sweat equity that my wife and I and our family had to do to build this business. So I never spoiled my kids. Mm. I made them work. I was actually tougher on my son probably than any employee I ever had because I didn't want anybody to say, this is Nick's kid. I wanted him to earn it. So when he graduated from the University of Miami, he went out into shipping, and he's been at trade shows since he was a young kid, and everybody in the industry pretty much knows him because he would go to all the trade shows. And I never wanted him to do anything that he didn't want to do. Right. So he always wanted to be in the cigar industry. So today, he's almost 30 years old now. He's the director of sales. He's done a wonderful job. He's developed a lot of things like our bag display that made the company. Right. It was very profitable for the company, and a lot of great ideas from these young guys. And you got to give people a shot too, Jim. You know what I mean? I think that's
absolutely
important. Yeah,
absolutely. Because at the end of the day, the future is what's coming. You can't stop it.
Absolutely.
For you, speaking of the future, in other words, the blends, multiple cigars of the year. At one point, how do you keep the fire stoked? Especially because it's easy to say, "Hey, I'm Nick Perdomo. I'm an international figure in this business. I'm on the Mount Rushmore." I don't think that's unfair to say. You're a humble guy. I don't think that's unfair to say. How do you keep that fire stoked?
It's crazy. I love it more today than I ever have. I was recently on an airplane going to an event, and a competitor of mine said, "I don't know how you do it." And he said,
because it would be easy to say.
No, I mean, I just flew back from working a whole week, on trips, and next Tuesday I go back out again. I love it. Nobody comes to me at an event or at a cigar store and says, "Hey Nick, I'm going to a funeral. I need a box of cigars." Everybody's happy to see you. So it's humbling to me that people, want to see me or that enjoy our product so much. Just recently, I was at an event and a gentleman came in with his son and showed me an old box of Perdomo champagnes. So I said, "Wow, man, that box has to be 22 years old." And he said, "It is." I said, "That's the first run we ever made." And he said, "This is my son. He's 22. And today I'm buying a new box because he's going to get married." And boy, if that doesn't touch you or make the hair stand on your forearms, nothing will. So to me, I feel like the most blessed man in the world that I can do this. I get to work with my son. I work with my wife. My mom's with the company. A lot of family. And to me, the thousands of employees we have with the company are like family members. You can imagine, most of them have been with me over 20 years.
Yeah.
Some have been with us since our inception. So to me, they're like family. We've had in Nicaragua over 679 people retire. I'm proud to say I've been to every retirement.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so these are things that make our company special and fire me up more. Look, I'm 57. I'm getting older, but I ain't going anywhere for now. And we have a great execution plan, you know, after I leave on the sunset, you know what I mean? But it's not going to be anytime soon. I really love what I do, and I love all the guys out there and the support I get.
And that's what I was going to say, because every time, you know, being in this business, I'm lucky enough to get part of this, because I'm just the guy that's enjoying a good smoke with good people. But you're always, hey, Nick Perdomo is here. He's there. And you've got to love that. And, you know, to get up and down in an airplane, to get in a car, drive here and there, you really got to drive. And I know it's your name on there, but, you know, you've got people now, but yet you still want to be in there for that touch, right?
I do. It's a lot of work because you're the center focus. So every customer that walks in the store wants to talk to you. Sometimes you can lose your voice. So I've even learned ways where, you know, I'll drink a lot of water. I'll you know, if I'm doing a dinner in Des Moines, Iowa, at David's Briar at a country club, 178 people are going to be at this dinner. You know, it's a lot of people. And when I do a dinner, I talk to every single person.
Yeah.
So now, you know, you do your speech, you talk about your products, and then you walk table to table to table. It's easy when it's 75 to 100 people. When it's 175, 180 people, it gets tough, but I still enjoy it, but it's not going to be a night where I'm eating.
Right.
So what I'll do is I'll work the whole event. I'll probably eat dinner prior to the event, or probably take some food and eat it at the hotel. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know how much work it is. You know, you're steaming your suits at 12 o'clock, you're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're showering, you're with your salesman from 7 o'clock in the morning for breakfast, and you get back the next day, sometimes the day after, you know, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, you're shuttling between different hotels. But I love it. It's pretty good.
What's the biggest lesson you learned from doing what you do?
Look, I started very young. I was gullible. I had some guys approach me and try to do bad things. You got to be very savvy in business, because if you're starting to move in the right direction, sometimes people can be pretty bad sometimes and do bad things. So I learned not to be so gullible. I've also learned to love people more and more. I think, believe it or not, more people are good than they are bad, Jim. Yeah. And I'm a real people person. So this business works perfect for me, because not only do I love our customers and our consumers around the world, but I love my workforce. So, you know, I love to come to work every day. That's a blessing.
Right.
You know, that's a blessing. And I don't think work is a punishment. You know, we've had this aura in the last, you know, year where, you know, we've had tough times finding workers. Work is bad. No, work's not bad. Work is good. And I enjoy work. And I've been working since I was 11. I'm proud of that. And I did that because I saw how hard my folks had to work. You know, my dad came from Cuba with the shirt off his back, always had 2 or 3 jobs. You ever hear that? 2 or 3 jobs? You know, and I saw that all the way through high school. So he was a great example to me, and I didn't want to be a burden on my dad. So whether I was pitching papers for the Miami Herald at 11 or cutting grass all summer long under the workhorse of my Uncle Tony, who, you know, beat me, like almost literally beat me into the ground. But I thank God for that. And it gave me a great work ethic, you know.
Final word before we wrap this up. And again, thanks for the time. Anything you would have done different?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think maybe I would have borrowed money, believe it or not. No, I know this sounds crazy. You know, our company, one of the great things about our company is we're completely debt-free. And I had to learn from my mom and dad. So I wanted to build a box factory in 1999. There's an old Italian saying that says you buy the clam, but you get the can sometimes. So I got tired of, you know, purchasing boxes and they were ill-fitted, or buy different types of tobaccos and, you know, they weren't the quality that they should have been, and so on. So I decided that I was going to be vertically integrated. So I'm building this box factory. I hire a guy to help me build it. I don't know, it was like $200,000 or $300,000. So I would buy a machine, 10,000, and I would send it down to Nicaragua. I'd buy another machine, and my mother would say, "That's the way you do it. You do." If I would have borrowed money from the bank, I would have had all that machinery down at one shot.
Right.
Back in those days, the interest was 6%. I would have been able to move a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
But in hindsight, when you look back at it, it's pretty great being a company that has zero debt.
Yeah.
And that's a blessing for us. And we everything we do, we buy it. Today, it's a little easier. We can do it pretty quickly. But back in those days, I would have to piecemeal everything. But I'd make sure that I paid all my vendors and made sure I got everything done before I'd start. So probably, when you need the bank, they're never there for you. When you don't need the bank, they're always there for you. And at that time, they were there for me, but I just never used them.
Well, what do they say? It's never the destination, it's the journey.
Pretty much so.
Right?
Yep, it's absolutely the truth.
It's Nick Perdomo. See you next year.
Absolutely,
Right?
count on it.
All right,
See
my
you guys do.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. It's Nick Perdomo, everybody.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks.